Chapter 13. Relationships through the elemental lens. The dance of elements between us. Imagine standing at the edge of a magnificent dance floor where countless pairs move in intricate patterns. Some flowing together in perfect harmony, their movements a seamless blend of complementary energies, while others clash in awkward discord, their rhythms fundamentally misaligned. Some dancers provide exactly what their partners need, offering stability where there is wavering, passion where there is coolness, flexibility where there is rigidity, depth where there is shallowness. Others continually step on toes, their natural movements creating constant friction rather than graceful synchronicity. This dance floor offers a profound metaphor for understanding human relationships through elemental wisdom. What we commonly experience as chemistry, compatibility, or conflict can be understood not as mysterious forces beyond comprehension, but as specific interactions between elemental energies seeking either balance or expression through interpersonal dynamics. This perspective transforms relationship challenges from frustrating mysteries into intelligible patterns. Your psyche's way of either finding complementary energies that balance your elemental composition or encountering mirrors that reflect your own elemental nature in heightened form. In this chapter, we'll explore the fascinating interplay of elements in relationships of all kinds, from intimate partnerships to family dynamics, workplace interactions to parenting approaches. We'll develop frameworks for identifying others' elemental profiles, understanding patterns of elemental compatibility and challenge, and communicating effectively across elemental differences. Beyond conventional relationship advice, this elemental approach offers several advantages. It depersonalizes conflicts by recognizing them as natural interactions between different compositions rather than character flaws. It provides specific guidance for adapting communication based on elemental understanding. And it honors both the wisdom of attraction to complementary elements and the growth potential in relationships that challenge our imbalances. As we begin this exploration, remember that elemental wisdom complements rather than replaces compassionate communication and mutual respect. Just as understanding dance principles doesn't eliminate the need for practice and attunement with your partner, elemental understanding enhances these essential practices while empowering greater understanding of yourself and others through the clarifying lens of elemental balance. Identifying others' elemental profiles. Perhaps the most practical starting point for applying elemental wisdom to relationships is developing the capacity to recognize elemental tendencies in the people around you. Not to label or categorize others in limiting ways, but to develop nuanced understanding of their natural temperaments, communication styles, and relational needs. Observational cues to elemental tendencies. Each elemental energy manifests through distinctive patterns that can be observed in everyday interactions. Earth indicators reveal themselves through stability, practicality, and embodied presence. Those with strong earth energy often move deliberately rather than impulsively, demonstrate comfort with physical activities, show natural attunement to bodily needs, and approach situations with pragmatic focus on tangible outcomes. They typically value consistency, reliability, and predictability, establishing clear routines and demonstrating resistance to unnecessary changes. Their descriptions often include concrete sensory details rather than abstract concepts or emotional impressions. Fire indicators express through passion, transformation, and directed energy. Fire-dominant individuals often demonstrate energetic communication through animated expressions, dynamic vocal patterns, and physical energy that seems to radiate outward. They typically show ready willingness to take action or make decisions without excessive deliberation, engage with their interests with unmistakable intensity, and express frustration when progress stalls. They generally demonstrate natural orientation toward change and growth, readily identifying opportunities for improvement and expressing boredom when situations remain static. Air indicators reveal themselves through intellectual engagement, communication, and perspective flexibility. Those with strong air energy often demonstrate natural comfort with abstract ideas, theoretical frameworks, and conceptual connections. They typically place high value on clear expression and thoughtful discussion, show natural awareness of social dynamics and relational networks, and demonstrate exceptional flexibility in their thinking. readily shifting viewpoints to consider alternative interpretations or hypothetical scenarios. Water indicators express through emotional depth, intuitive awareness, and relational sensitivity. Water-dominant individuals often demonstrate remarkable awareness of emotional currents, both their own internal feelings and the emotional states of others. They typically demonstrate trust in non-rational knowing, seek meaningful connection beyond surface interactions, and show remarkable capacity to adapt to changing circumstances, flowing around obstacles rather than confronting them directly. These indicators provide starting points for recognizing elemental tendencies in others, understanding that most people demonstrate combinations of elements rather than pure expressions of a single energy. The art of elemental recognition involves noticing these patterns without reducing the complexity of another person to a simplistic category. Communication styles as elemental indicators. One particularly revealing window into others' elemental tendencies is their characteristic communication style. Earth communication emphasizes clarity, practicality, and concrete information. Language typically includes specific details and practical considerations rather than abstract concepts. Speaking style often demonstrates measured pacing and straightforward delivery without excessive elaboration. Their listening focuses on gathering actionable information, and they typically prefer clear questions, direct requests, and explicit rather than implied messages. Fire communication emphasizes expressiveness, persuasiveness, and energetic engagement. Language typically includes action-oriented verbs, decisive statements, and passionate emphasis. Their speaking style often demonstrates animated delivery and energetic expression that physically engages the listener. Listening orientation focuses on identifying key points and actionable conclusions, and they typically prefer immediate feedback and honest rather than diplomatically filtered communication. Air communication emphasizes conceptual clarity, intellectual engagement, and perspective exploration. Language typically includes abstract concepts, theoretical frameworks, and analytical distinctions. Their speaking style often demonstrates logical structure and exploration of multiple perspectives. Listening orientation focuses on grasping conceptual frameworks and connecting new information with existing knowledge, and they typically prefer thoughtful questions and intellectual engagement. Water communication emphasizes emotional connection, intuitive understanding, and relational attunement. Language typically includes feeling-based descriptions, metaphorical expressions, and nuanced emotional distinctions. Their speaking style often demonstrates fluctuating rhythm that follows emotional current and comfortable silence that allows feeling to emerge. Listening orientation focuses on emotional undertones and relational implications, and they typically prefer empathic reflection and authentic rather than formulaic exchanges. These communication patterns offer a particularly valuable window into elemental tendencies because they're readily observable in everyday interactions without requiring deep knowledge of someone's private experiences. The ethics of elemental assessment. As you develop skill in recognizing elemental tendencies in others, several ethical considerations become important. Understanding versus labeling represents the crucial distinction between using the elemental framework as an illuminating lens versus reductive categorization. Rather than declaring someone an earth type as if this captured their entire being, approach elemental recognition as ongoing exploration of a complex human whose elemental composition represents just one aspect of their unique nature. Observation versus assumption reminds us to base elemental understanding on actual patterns we observe rather than projected expectations. When we notice a potential elemental tendency, hold it as a tentative hypothesis to be confirmed or revised through further interaction. Appreciation versus evaluation guides us to approach elemental differences with genuine curiosity and respect, rather than hierarchical ranking. Each elemental expression brings valuable qualities to relationships and situations, with none inherently superior to others. Growth versus fixation acknowledges that elemental compositions remain dynamic rather than static throughout life. While someone may demonstrate characteristic patterns, these can shift through development, life circumstances, or conscious cultivation. Invitation versus imposition suggests sharing elemental insights with others only when it serves meaningful connection rather than satisfies a desire to categorize. When someone demonstrates interest in this perspective, or when relationship context makes elemental discussion relevant, this framework becomes valuable shared language rather than imposed interpretation. These ethical guidelines transform elemental recognition from potentially reductive labeling into compassionate understanding that honors the complexity, dignity, and autonomy of those we encounter. Elemental compatibility and challenges. Just as chemical elements create different reactions when combined, human elemental compositions interact in patterns that create distinctive relationship dynamics. Natural affinities between elements. Certain elemental combinations naturally complement each other, creating harmonious interactions. Earth and fire create a powerful complementary dynamic when balanced appropriately. Earth provides the stable container and practical grounding that allows fire's transformative energy to express constructively rather than destructively. Fire, in turn, brings activating energy, passionate engagement, and catalyzing influence that prevents Earth from becoming stagnant or excessively rigid. This pairing often manifests in relationships where one partner provides stability and practical support, while the other brings enthusiasm, initiative, and transformative vision. Air and water similarly form a complementary pairing when in appropriate balance. Air provides the perspective, conceptual clarity, and communicative articulation that helps water's emotional and intuitive wisdom find expression rather than remaining submerged in formless feeling. Water reciprocally brings emotional depth, intuitive guidance, and relational attunement that prevents air from becoming detached, overly abstract, or disconnected from meaningful significance. Earth and water create a nurturing, sustainable relationship when harmoniously integrated. Earth provides the containment, structure, and practical foundation that allows water's emotional and intuitive nature to flow productively rather than dispersing without clear channel. Water brings fluid adaptability, emotional depth, and intuitive wisdom that prevents Earth from becoming rigid, mechanical, or excessively materialistic. Fire and air form a dynamic, innovative combination when properly balanced. Fire provides the energetic drive, passionate commitment, and transformative power that gives air's ideas and perspectives practical implementation. Air contributes conceptual clarity, communication skill, and perspective flexibility that helps fire's energy express intelligently rather than impulsively. These natural affinities don't guarantee perfect relationships, but they represent fundamental elemental compatibilities that can create particularly harmonious interactions when consciously understood and cultivated. Common challenges between elements. Despite their potential for complementarity, certain elemental combinations naturally create characteristic tensions that require conscious navigation. Earth-air tensions typically manifest through fundamental differences in orientation. Earth's practical, tangible focus versus air's conceptual, abstract perspective. These differences can create significant friction when Earth perceives air as impractical or unnecessarily complicated, while air experiences Earth as limited or excessively concrete. Their communication often becomes increasingly frustrated as Earth asks for specific, practical information, while air provides theoretical explanations that seem irrelevant to Earth's pragmatic concerns. Fire-water tensions frequently emerge through contrasting approaches to expression and engagement. Fire's direct, action-oriented approach versus water's receptive, feeling-based process. These differences can generate substantial conflict when fire experiences water as indirect or unnecessarily complicated, while water perceives fire as insensitive or excessively forceful. Their interactions may become increasingly strained as fire pushes for clear decisions and immediate action, while water requires emotional processing that seems unnecessarily delaying to fire. Same element intensifications present unique challenges when two people with similar elemental dominance form close relationships. Rather than providing complementary balance, these relationships often amplify both the strengths and limitations of the shared element. Two Earth-dominant individuals may create an exceptionally stable relationship that becomes increasingly resistant to necessary change or rigidly committed to established patterns. Two fire-dominant people typically generate remarkable energy together, but may struggle with sustainable pacing, boundary respect, or balancing individual autonomy with relationship needs. Two air-dominant partners usually share wonderful intellectual connection, but might create a relationship with insufficient emotional depth, practical grounding, or passionate engagement. Two water-dominant individuals often develop extraordinarily deep emotional connection, but may experience challenges with practical functioning, clear communication, or decisive action. These elemental tensions don't indicate doomed relationships, but rather specific growth opportunities that require conscious understanding and intentional navigation. The value of elemental diversity. While complementary elemental combinations often create naturally harmonious relationships, diversity of elemental expression within communities, teams, and social networks offers essential benefits beyond personal compatibility. Balanced perspective emerges when all elements contribute their distinctive wisdom to collective understanding. Earth's practical discernment, fire's visionary enthusiasm, air's conceptual clarity, and water's emotional attunement. Comprehensive response becomes possible when diverse elemental strengths address different aspects of complex challenges. Earth providing stability during crisis, fire mobilizing necessary action, air offering analytical understanding, water facilitating emotional processing. Development catalyst appears through exposure to different elemental strengths that inspire growth in our underdeveloped elements. Adaptability enhancement results from having diverse elemental resources available as circumstances change. Different situations naturally require different elemental strengths, some calling for Earth's steadiness, others needing fire's transformation, still others benefiting from air's perspective or water's intuition. This appreciation for elemental diversity transforms potential conflicts from problems to be solved into resources to be valued, reframing the inevitable tensions of different approaches as creative friction that generates more comprehensive understanding than any single element could produce alone. Communication across elemental differences. Perhaps the most immediately practical application of elemental understanding involves developing the capacity to communicate effectively across elemental differences. Adapting your natural style to connect meaningfully with people whose composition differs significantly from your own. Translating between elemental languages. Each elemental tendency naturally expresses through a characteristic communication style that makes perfect sense within its own framework, but may create confusion when directed towards someone with a different elemental composition. Communicating with Earth-dominant individuals becomes more effective when you adapt your style to match their practical orientation. Begin with tangible information, specific details, and practical implications rather than abstract concepts that might seem irrelevant to their pragmatic focus. Provide clear structure, explicit expectations, and definite timeframes rather than open-ended possibilities that may trigger their need for certainty. Demonstrate reliability through consistent follow-through, punctuality, and honoring commitments. Respect their physical boundaries and preference for gradual rather than sudden changes. Communicating with fire-dominant individuals flows more smoothly when you adjust to their energetic, direct style. Express with authentic enthusiasm, genuine conviction, and appropriate intensity, rather than measured neutrality that may read as disengagement. Focus on core message, actionable conclusions, and meaningful purpose rather than extensive background details. Respond with appropriate immediacy, direct feedback, and clear position rather than extended deliberation or diplomatic vagueness. Honor their need for autonomy, meaningful challenge, and forward movement. Communicating with air-dominant individuals becomes more effective when you connect with their conceptual, perspective-oriented approach. Engage their intellectual curiosity through thoughtful questions, logical structure, and conceptual frameworks. Allow space for exploration of multiple perspectives, consideration of alternatives, and examination of assumptions. Clarify definitions, specify exactly what you mean, and maintain logical consistency. Respect their need for mental autonomy, conceptual understanding, and communicative precision. Communicating with water-dominant individuals flows more naturally when you adapt to their relational, feeling-based orientation. Acknowledge emotional dimensions, relational implications, and intuitive impressions. Allow time for processing feelings, developing trust, and establishing authentic connection. Express with emotional authenticity, congruent nonverbal communication, and appropriate self-disclosure. Honor their need for emotional safety, meaningful connection, and intuitive alignment. This elemental translation doesn't require abandoning your natural style, but rather developing flexibility to adjust your approach based on conscious recognition of others' elemental needs, like learning phrases in different languages to connect with people from diverse cultural backgrounds. Creating multi-elemental messages for particularly important communications or those directed toward diverse audiences. Consciously crafting messages that incorporate all elemental languages can dramatically increase effectiveness. Earth components address practical needs for concrete information, clear structure, and tangible implications, providing specific details about what, when, where, and how, clear expectations and parameters, recognition of resource implications and practical challenges. Fire components engage motivation through purpose connection, energetic expression, and transformative potential, connecting to why this matters, using decisive language and appropriate urgency, recognizing individual agency and creative opportunity, delivering with energy and conviction. Air components ensure intellectual clarity through conceptual framework, logical structure, and multiple perspectives, providing clear definitions and logical reasoning, acknowledging complexity and considering alternatives, organizing with coherent flow, offering intellectual engagement and conceptual stimulation. Water components create emotional connection through authentic feeling, relational awareness, and intuitive resonance, expressing with appropriate vulnerability and genuine expression, recognizing relationship context and emotional implications, allowing space for intuitive processing, using congruent nonverbal communication and resonant imagery. These multi-elemental messages require more initial effort, but dramatically increase the likelihood that diverse recipients will genuinely hear, understand, and respond positively to your communication, like creating universal design that works for people with different physical needs. Recognizing and addressing elemental biases. One of the most valuable aspects of elemental understanding involves increasing awareness of our natural biases, the unconscious preferences and judgments that arise from our own elemental composition. Earth-based biases typically manifest as preference for practical concreteness that may unfairly evaluate other styles, dismissing air's conceptual exploration as overthinking, or impractical theorizing, judging water's emotional processing as too sensitive, viewing fire's enthusiastic initiatives as impulsive, or overvaluing tangible results while undervaluing conceptual understanding. Fire-based biases often appear as preference for direct action that may unfairly assess other approaches, experiencing Earth's careful deliberation as resistance or fear of change, dismissing air's analytical process as analysis paralysis, judging water's intuitive discernment as wishy-washy, or overvaluing passion and decisive action while undervaluing stability and emotional attunement. Air-based biases typically emerge as preference for conceptual clarity that may unfairly evaluate other expressions, experiencing Earth's practical focus as unimaginative, dismissing fire's passionate conviction as simplistic, judging water's intuitive knowing as irrational, or overvaluing conceptual understanding while undervaluing practical application and emotional wisdom. Water-based biases often manifest as preference for emotional authenticity that may unfairly assess other approaches, experiencing Earth's measured response as emotionally unavailable, dismissing air's analytical perspective as cold, judging fire's direct approach as insensitive, or overvaluing emotional depth while undervaluing practical stability and conceptual clarity. Recognizing these elemental biases transforms communication from unconscious projection of our preferences onto others into conscious appreciation of legitimate differences in how we experience and navigate shared reality. Parenting with elemental awareness. Few relationship contexts offer more profound opportunity for applying elemental wisdom than parenting, where understanding a child's natural tendencies can significantly enhance both the effectiveness of your guidance and the depth of your connection. Identifying children's elemental tendencies. Children often demonstrate clear elemental preferences from surprisingly early ages, though these tendencies typically become more pronounced as they develop distinctive personalities. Earth-strong children frequently show characteristic patterns from early development. Physical awareness manifesting through strong connection with bodily sensations. Preference for predictability expressed through attachment to familiar routines. Practical orientation revealing itself through interest in how things work. And patience for incremental progress demonstrated through capacity to work steadily toward goals. Fire-strong children typically exhibit distinctive qualities from early development, energetic presence manifesting through physical vitality and difficulty remaining still. Initiative orientation expressed through readiness to take action and make independent choices. Passionate response revealing itself through strong reactions and intense engagement. And competitive drive demonstrated through enjoyment of challenges. Air-strong children often show characteristic tendencies from early development. Curious questioning manifesting through persistent why inquiries. Verbal facility expressed through early language development and enjoyment of wordplay. Social awareness revealing itself through attentiveness to others' perspectives. And mental flexibility demonstrated through ease in shifting between different activities. Water-strong children frequently exhibit distinctive patterns from early development. Emotional sensitivity manifesting through profound responsiveness to others' feelings. Intuitive perception expressed through surprising insights into others' motives. Imaginative depth revealing itself through rich fantasy play. And relationship orientation demonstrated through focus on connection with others. These elemental tendencies appear not as rigid categories, but as natural inclinations that manifest uniquely in each child, based on their individual personality, experiences, and developmental stage. Adapting parenting to elemental needs. Beyond general elemental support, conscious adaptation of your parenting approach to match your child's specific elemental composition dramatically enhances both effectiveness and connection. Parenting. Earth-dominant children becomes more harmonious when you match their need for stability while gently stretching their comfort with change, providing clear structure, consistent routines, and adequate preparation for transitions. Offering concrete explanations and practical demonstrations. Respecting their physical boundaries and need for sufficient time. Supporting their natural strengths while gently encouraging exploration of other elements. Parenting. Fire-dominant children flows more smoothly when you honor their energy while helping develop appropriate containment, creating abundant opportunities for movement and energetic engagement. Establishing clear but flexible boundaries, engaging their natural enthusiasm through meaningful challenges. Appreciating their natural strengths while gently supporting development of other elements. Parenting air-dominant children becomes more effective when you engage their intellectual curiosity while helping develop practical application, providing intellectually stimulating environment, engaging in thoughtful conversation, supporting their social interests, honoring their natural strengths while gently encouraging growth in other elements. Parenting water-dominant children flows more harmoniously when you respect their emotional sensitivity while helping develop appropriate boundaries, creating emotionally safe environment, offering empathic understanding during distress, supporting their intuitive perceptions and creative expressions, appreciating their natural strengths while gently encouraging development of other elements. This elemental adaptation doesn't require becoming an entirely different parent, but rather developing flexibility to adjust your natural approach based on your child's specific needs and constitution, like skilled gardener who provides different care for various plants. Professional relationships and team dynamics. Beyond personal relationships, elemental understanding offers powerful framework for enhancing professional collaborations, transforming workplace interactions, and creating more effective teams. Elemental diversity as team strength. When consciously recognized and strategically utilized, elemental diversity within teams creates significant advantages beyond what homogeneous groups can accomplish. Comprehensive problem-solving emerges when different elemental perspectives address complex challenges from multiple angles. Earth contributors ensuring practical feasibility, fire participants maintaining focus on purpose, air members offering conceptual clarity, and water teammates bringing emotional intelligence and intuitive insights. Balanced decision-making develops when diverse elemental wisdom contributes to evaluation process. Earth wisdom, asking about practical feasibility and resource requirements. Fire wisdom, questioning alignment with core purpose. Air wisdom, examining logical consistency and alternative approaches. Water wisdom, exploring emotional impact and intuitive sense. Complementary execution allows team members to contribute according to their natural strengths while forming coherent whole. Earth strong members excelling at implementation plans and consistent follow-through. Fire strong participants providing initiative and maintaining enthusiasm. Air strong contributors bringing clear communication and strategic thinking. Water strong teammates offering relational cohesion and adaptive responsiveness. Recognizing these complementary contributions transforms perception of elemental differences from sources of irritation into essential resources for team excellence. Like orchestra comprising different instrumental sections that creates harmonious performance far surpassing what any single instrument could produce alone. Leadership approaches across elements. Effective leadership requires not only personal elemental balance, but also capacity to adapt leadership style to match both individual team members and organizational context. Earth leadership emphasizes stability, practicality, and reliable structure, providing clear expectations and consistent follow-through, maintaining focus on practical implementation and operational excellence, demonstrating steady presence and grounded perspective, excelling at establishing sustainable systems and ensuring foundational requirements receive attention. Fire leadership emphasizes vision, transformation, and catalytic action, articulating compelling purpose and generating enthusiasm, demonstrating decisive initiative and courageous action, providing energetic presence and passionate engagement, excelling at mobilizing action and maintaining momentum through challenges. Air leadership emphasizes perspective, communication, and conceptual clarity, creating coherent frameworks and articulating ideas with precision, maintaining diverse perspectives and identifying connections between seemingly separate issues, excelling at strategic thinking and creating shared understanding. Water leadership emphasizes connection, intuition, and adaptive responsiveness, building authentic relationships and creating psychological safety, demonstrating empathic presence and intuitive discernment, adapting approach based on specific needs of different individuals, excelling at navigating uncertainty and facilitating healing during difficult transitions. Elemental leadership flexibility allows effective leaders to draw from all these approaches based on specific situational needs rather than remaining limited to approaches aligned with their natural preferences, like skilled conductor who adjusts direction based on needs of particular musical passage. Romantic relationships and elemental balance. Perhaps nowhere do elemental dynamics manifest more powerfully than in romantic relationships, where elemental compatibility, challenges, and growth opportunities create the distinctive chemistry, struggles, and transformative potential of intimate partnerships. Attraction patterns through elemental lens. Romantic attraction often follows intelligible elemental patterns that reflect both conscious and unconscious recognition of how another person's elemental composition might complement or reinforce our own. Complementary attraction draws us toward people whose elemental strengths balance our limitations. Earth-deficient individuals often experiencing powerful attraction to partners with strong earth energy who provide stability they naturally lack. Fire-deficient people frequently feeling drawn toward partners with pronounced fire qualities. Air-deficient individuals commonly experiencing attraction to partners with developed air capacities. Water-deficient people often feeling powerful, pulled toward partners with strong water energy. Reinforcing attraction draws us toward people whose elemental strengths mirror and amplify our own. Earth-strong individuals often experiencing comfort with partners who share their practical orientation. Fire-strong people frequently feeling energized by partners who match their passionate engagement. Air-strong individuals commonly experiencing intellectual resonance with partners who share their conceptual interests. Water-strong people often feeling deeply understood by partners who mirror their emotional depth. Healing attraction draws us toward people whose elemental qualities resonate with unhealed aspects of our developmental history. Individuals with earth deprivation in early life often experiencing powerful attraction to partners who offer these qualities. People with fire wounding frequently feeling drawn toward partners who validate these qualities. Those with air deficits commonly experiencing attraction to partners who demonstrate genuine interest in their ideas. Individuals with water injuries often feeling powerful pull toward partners who demonstrate emotional attunement. Understanding these attraction patterns transforms romantic chemistry from mysterious force beyond comprehension into intelligible elemental dynamics with specific potential for both relationship fulfillment and personal growth. Working with elemental differences in intimate relationships. Perhaps the most practical application of elemental understanding involves developing specific approaches for addressing common relationship challenges that arise from elemental differences. Balancing earth-fire dynamics creates sustainable passion when partners differ in these elemental tendencies. Creating explicit agreements about balancing security needs with desire for novelty. Developing shared understanding of different pacing preferences. Establishing regular practices that honor both stability and passion. Recognizing complementary wisdom in both elements. Harmonizing air-water interactions creates emotional understanding when partners differ in these elemental tendencies. Developing bilingual communication that incorporates both air's clear articulation and water's emotional expression. Creating space for both processing styles, building bridges between intuitive knowing and rational analysis. Honoring different intimacy needs. Addressing elemental triggers transforms reactive patterns when partners' elemental differences activate old wounds. Identifying specific elemental expressions that trigger defensive responses. Distinguishing between current partners' actual expression and triggered memories. Developing awareness of your own elemental defenses. Creating shared language for naming triggering interactions without blame. Creating elemental balance through complementary contributions allows partners to maintain their natural strengths while creating wholeness together. Recognizing legitimate specialization where each partner takes primary responsibility for domains aligned with their elemental strengths. Developing appreciation for different but equally valuable contributions. Creating decision-making processes that incorporate all elemental wisdom. Supporting each other's elemental growth without expecting fundamental personality transformation. Through these balanced approaches, elemental differences transform from sources of perpetual conflict into catalysts for growth and providers of essential complementarity, like musical composition that creates harmony not from identical notes but from different tones in proper relationship to each other. Journal reflection questions. 1. Identify the elemental profiles of 3 important people in your life. What evidence from their communication styles, approaches to situations, and general tendencies supports your assessment? 2. What elemental dynamics create harmony or conflict in your key relationships? Be specific about patterns you notice when different elemental energies interact between you and others. 3. How might you adapt your communication style to better connect with different elemental types in your life? What specific approaches would help bridge understanding with someone whose elemental composition differs significantly from yours? 4. In what relationships do you feel most elementally balanced? What qualities in these connections make this possible? And how might you cultivate similar balance in more challenging relationships? 5. How could you create more elemental harmony in a challenging relationship? What specific approaches might help transform elemental differences from sources of conflict into opportunities for complementary balance?